Hello, I'm Gus Downing, publisher and editor of the D&D Daily. This is the LP News Network. We're here today with Chad McIntosh, Vice President of Loss Prevention and Risk Management for Bloomingdale's, and Tom Meehan, Director of Technology and Investigations for Bloomingdale's as well. Today's session, which was given here at the NRF Protect, is entitled Eyes Forward, the Future of Loss Prevention and Using Social Media. The session description: when Bloomingdale's started its social media monitoring in 2011, it had a plan. Fast forward to 2016, and the program and the plan has changed dramatically. Learn the facts and myths about social media monitoring and intelligence gathering. Understand the impact of social media and loss prevention in retail, and hear from Bloomingdale's Tom Meehan and Chad McIntosh on how to use big data sources and social media outlets to create your own information stream without becoming overwhelmed by the data. Gentlemen, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Gus.
You know, my first question, Chad, is to you. The session description starts out with the fact that your program started back in 2011 and changed dramatically. Could you walk us through that evolution, so to speak?
It's a great story. I got back to Bloomingdale's in 2010, and my chairman at the time almost immediately called me every Monday about an event that occurred around one of our stores. Not necessarily to us, but around one of our stores, and he wanted some details. So I put the smartest guy in the room, Tom, on the task of really starting to determine how we can pick up on those things through social media. We quickly found out that we had to cull the data quite a bit because there's just so much information that was coming into us. It was unmanageable for us. So Tom went out and researched and found some business partners that helped us through the process and really helped us refine the way that we conduct searches today on social media, to the point that we've actually developed a control center, if you will, in our flagship store in Manhattan, where you've got to stay in tune with social media on a regular basis, that we can see events occurring in and around the city of Manhattan and can determine whether or not they're coming in our direction. Do we need to prepare for something? One of the things that social media helped us with greatly was with the Occupy Wall Street. Those protests were going by both of our stores in Manhattan, so we had to know when they were coming so that we could prepare in the event that they came into our store and created a disruption. So it's become an invaluable tool to us. I quickly got on the offensive with my chairman and started giving him the information about what was going on around our stores. The speed with which everybody wants the information is absolutely amazing. They think it's instantaneous. I will tell you that we've gotten good enough at it because everybody with a mobile device is a reporter today. So Tom was monitoring San Bernardino before it was on the news. So we were aware of it. We were taking a look. What's the distance from our store? Is it going to come in our direction? Is it going to impact our business? So you really have to kind of bring all that data together. Is it going to impact you? Is it something that management's going to want to know about? And then, do you need to take precautions because of the event coming in your direction?
That's dramatic. You know, can you talk about the facts versus the myths? That was one of the sentences in the description.
Sure. It's probably the biggest thing that we learned. You know, one of the biggest ones that we talk about is location-based strategies, where I'm going to focus on geo-tagged information. So information where the person, regardless of the platform, allows their location to be found. In 2011, by default, most of the major social media networks had this turned on. So it was great. You knew where it was, you knew what was going on. You know, fast forward to today, that doesn't exist anymore. It's turned off by default. And so the strategies and a lot of the different types of books and things out there talk about this geotag, this really sexy, wonderful, you get to see a map of everything and you can follow this. The reality is today, and Chad mentioned the Occupy Wall Street or some of the protest things. We had 3,000 people walking, towards our store. Not one of them had their geo information turned on. The way we found out about it was watching live streaming. So it's one of the biggest things that when I talk to folks about is, yes, you absolutely want to have geo in your strategy, but the fact of the matter is it's a very small part today. Another big one is metadata. So there's a lot of talk about, and the news picks this up quite a bit, media of your pictures contain all this private information. Again, 5 years ago, I could tell you anything by looking at a picture. We had things that you were just remarkably easy to figure out where people were when they took a picture. All of that stuff is taken out by default today. Again, you have to add that in. So when you look at some strategies, it starts off with, I'm going to follow the geo. The next one is then I'm going to get a picture and tell you where the picture was taken, all these other things. Really doesn't exist. And depending on which study you read or which academic institute, it's anywhere from 2% to 8% actually has geotag or metadata. I can tell you just in a practical matter, it's been more than 4 years since we've been able to use either effectively. So those are two that really come up often. The other one is technologies can solve everything. I can go out and I can source technology, and that's going to fix everything for me. The reality is technology is designed to make people's lives easier, but it's not going to take the person out. And the example I always give, and it's kind of a silly example, is if you think about the generation today and some of the acronyms or things they use in social media. So the word bomb, and I use the example of, you can put a really good algorithm together to say, I don't want you to, when they're talking about something good, so the store was the bomb. So that's easy, right? You could take that out. What if you put in, I hate the traffic going to Bloomingdale's, but that store is the bomb. Guess what?
Oh.
Every time that comes up, that would affect. If you left it to a computer, you wouldn't get correct information. And unfortunately, we had a very structured approach in the beginning, but there really needs to be a human element. There needs to be a buffer, there needs to be a filter, and a verifiable. I can't tell you, between those three right there, everybody I talk to, I'm gonna find it, I'm gonna outsource it, I'm gonna get email alerts, it's gonna fix my problem. And then once there's a real event in a location, you realize how quickly that can go the wrong direction. And then the other real one is I can do it for free. The myth of I can do it for free. I don't know about you guys. I don't know anything you can do for free. So you might find an open source tool that's very useful, but I think you're paying the person that's going to be using it.
Right.
So it's not free. And it's amazing how many times I talk to someone, we do it all in-house for free. And I'm like, I wouldn't want to work for you if it's free. How do you get there? So it's one of those things that constantly comes up. And then the last one, which is kind of a fun buzzword with cybersecurity, is the dark web, the deep web,
right.
Tor, I search it. Well, the reality is you can't search it because it's not indexed. So the only way you can find things on the deep dark is to know where they are to begin with. Right. So all of the tools and all of the things that are out there for it start with intelligence. They start with an actual intelligence gathering strategy. There's no social media element to the deep web. It's the complete oxymoron. Think about it. Yeah. They don't want you to easily
Makes
find
sense.
things on it. So those are probably the most common ones. And this is a topic that we unfortunately learned about, a lot of those myths in the run. But those are also the sexy things to talk about when you're talking about social media.
Creating the information stream is obviously critical, and having the right partner is obviously the key here. Can you give us an idea of the information stream and how you keep from becoming overwhelmed?
So I think it starts with, and I use this probably in anything I talk about data or analytics, it starts with having a plan and coming to do it with a real approach and a structured approach. If everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority. So when we started in 2011, we wanted to see everything. We wanted to know when people were stealing, what people were saying, and all these things. The reality is that doesn't work. So you have to come up and say, what's important to the organization? And it's dynamic. It could change. It could change daily. It could change weekly. It could change, over time. But you have to stick to that plan and always remind people of two things. We have kind of two options. We can get everything and never find anything, or we can be as structured as we want and understand we'll miss things. So that's the piece. And then the communication strategy afterwards, I think, is a big part of that too, so what do you do when you have something? How is it distributed? How important is it to distribute it? And making sure that a lot of times, and Chad used the San Bernardino, we're getting information real time. So sometimes you are flipping a coin whether the information is accurate because you're not getting it from a source. By the way, knock on wood, we've been accurate, but I can tell you that we sit there and a lot of times you'll say, this is a high likelihood that this is what's occurring based on what we're seeing. Mm-hmm. And something as simple as putting that in a strategy versus this is what's occurring lets people know we're going to come back to it.
Right.
I'd like to add too, if your organization has a social media group that's focused on tweeting, Instagram, things like that,
Right.
you need to be connected with them as well. We had an incident last holiday season where they received a tweet that said that there was a picture of a suicide bomber in front of our store in Manhattan. So that they sent that up through the ranks without verifying what it was or whether or not it was fact or fiction. And then we worked till 1:30 in the morning to determine that it was a 2014 ISIS picture montage, and there was never a picture of Bloomingdale's in there at all. So, and this was one tweet in the world of tweets, which is nothing.
Right, right.
So.
Let's talk about the impact of loss prevention from a 35,000-foot level. I mean, how is this impacting and changing loss prevention, and where is it going in the future, and what role does it play as well with the active shooter issues in incidents?
Yeah, I think a couple things, quite frankly. First of all, it's changed us so much, we changed our name at Bloomingdale's. We're not loss prevention anymore, we're asset protection. Because it's a broader brush that we deal with today. More information and data and sifting through to really identify the business intelligence issues that will impact us. I think from an active shooter standpoint, it's quick information that we're getting. As I use the San Bernardino incident, that was, I guess you could classify that as terrorist, but certainly getting that information and sharing that information and then reinforcing the practices that you have in your store and reminding people while it's fresh in their mind, they're seeing it on the news, these are the things that you need to do in our store to be safe. So that's the way that we use that tool in communicating to our organization.
But it's changing the face of LP big time.
Well, I will tell you that for the first time in my career, we hired a data scientist that has a master's degree in math that really is helping us identify, part of Tom's team, identifying where we need to focus, where we need to shift, what's the value of the information coming in, is it real, is it fact, is it fiction, and really kind of sifting through it. Back to kind of Tom's story was that you've got to have a human being involved in the process to really figure out what the true value is for you. And so that's a big change for us. We don't talk about catching bad guys anymore, quite frankly. We talk about solving problems and improving profitability.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thanks for being here today and getting involved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gus.
Well, that's it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to thank you for watching. And until next time, let's keep them all safe out there.